What is up, everybody? How's it going? Austin prechtelevate Performance, coming at you live. Happy Thursday. Today's Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day so far. Hope you're having a good day so far. Today, we're going to be talking about. I actually saw a question, or not, it wasn't actually a question. I saw a post earlier today where someone was discussing or chatting about how they have been following everything. Actually, I've seen a couple posts, so it's not just one person, but how they've been following a plan very effectively, and they've been pretty dialed in. They've been doing a good job. They've been following it pretty well to a T, right? Yet they didn't see progress, right? They didn't see progress this week. They didn't lose weight like they had wanted to. And so a lot of you are probably putting in a lot of time in the gym right now. You're probably putting in a lot of time in your nutrition and workouts and things like that. If your goal is weight loss and you're not doing those things, highly encourage that you do, because that's how you're going to get to your goal. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be chatting about today, is why you didn't see progress this week, right? Even though you did everything right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So as you're tuning in, though, let me know how your day is going. Drop some fire emojis in the chat if you're excited for this topic. If you're ready to learn about this stuff, give this video a like so that way other people see it. But that's what we're going to talk about today, because this happens a lot. Super, super common, and it's easy to feel defeated. It's easy to feel defeated if you are not, seeing progress, right? Even though you're doing everything right, it can be like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Is there something wrong? Am I screwing something up? What could be happening to me this week that is causing me to not see the progress that I want to see? Because it can be a little demoralizing, right? It can be a little demoralizing. It can be a little bit, you can feel kind of defeated. And when that happens, right, a lot of times we end up falling off track, or we beat ourselves up, or we kind of shame spiral, or we get in our head, and then we either sabotage, or we're just in a bad mood, and we're letting the scale kind of dictate our day, which we want to avoid anyways. But we've all been there, right? We've all been there before in the past, where we have, wanted to see progress because we did everything right. What happened? What's the deal? So in this scenario, right, in this scenario that I'm about to discuss, you, let's assume, did everything freaking right? Okay? You did all your workouts, you got your cardio in, or you did all your steps for the week, you ended up tracking your food properly, you didn't mess anything up in that regard. Let's assume everything was perfect, right? Why didn't you see progress? So let's talk about that. So there are probably, anywhere from like, a handful of reasons why that could be going on, okay? And so I'm going to list them off, and I'm going to discuss why that's the case in the first place. So one, sodium. Sodium's a reason why you might not have seen results on the scale. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, if you followed your plan correctly, it is almost guaranteed that you did not gain fat, right? It is almost guaranteed that you did not gain fat. What is more likely going on is you're holding on to water weight, you're holding on to food, you're holding on to something along those lines that is causing a fluctuation in your weight, that is resulting in the scale not showing progress. It's an illusion, though, because you more like 99% chance that you lost fat. Your weight's just fluctuating right now, which is a normal part of the process. Weight loss is not linear. It is not linear, and I think I posted on my story the other day like a perfect example of this. My client Scott is down 25 pounds, but guess what? It wasn't just a straight line down, right? It's not just a straight line down to where he's at right now. What happened is that, saw a dip, and it bumps back up a little bit. Saw a dip, bump up, and then we got a big bump. Oh, now it's going down. That's just how weight loss works. It's not linear. It's not linear. I see. Oh, hey, how's it going? Sodium makes sense for me. I don't think about that a lot. Yeah. So I'm going to list off some reasons why that happens, because weight loss is not linear. People want to think of it as being that, and we want to see results all the time. Sometimes you won't see progress on the scale for like 2 weeks. But things are changing, right? Fat loss is happening. Muscle is being gained. Recomp is happening. It's just the scale's kind of being a jerk right now because you got all these other factors that I'm going to talk about here in just a second as to why that's occurring, okay? And again, this is under the context or the precedent that you are doing everything else right? You're following the plan correctly if you have a good plan, right? And your plan's not broken to begin with, okay? So, first one, sodium. Why? Because whenever you consume salt, it messes with your body's water balance. And also sometimes if you consume salt, For some people, it can cause them to be a little bit constipated. Other people, it can cause them to have the opposite effect. It just depends on you and how much you consume and stuff. But salt impacts weight. Sky, I see you. Sodium is a great one to keep in mind. Water retention. Yep, exactly, exactly. And so, if you have a big salty meal the night before, or the day of, or whatever it may be, or even earlier in the day before, and then you weigh yourself the next day, guess what? That's going to impact the weight that the scale shows because you're holding more water. And a lot of times people don't think about this, like, right? And I remember the day that I kind of had this like epiphany, like as if it's like this big grandiose thing. But like, I was just sitting there, I was just like, oh shit, like I just had the realization. I was like, oh, when I drink water or I put food in my body, that impacts the weight on the scale. Like that shit, that it's literally inside of me. So it's adding to my weight for that day. Even the day before, right? Just like you don't go to sleep and everything's gone, right? Whatever you eat the night before, that impacts the next day for the scale. So, sodium could be a reason. Maybe you had a meal that had a high sodium amount, right? Maybe the day before. Number two, alcohol. Maybe you drank alcohol a day or two before that you weighed in, right? Sometimes alcohol impacts your weight by a lot because it can cause bloating, it can cause inflammation, it can cause you to hold on to more water at the end of the day is what it comes down to. And what ends up happening is, well, some people it can have one or two effects. It can either make you kind of dried out, and I've had days where I was like, after I had one too many drinks, I was like, dang, I'm the leanest I've been in a while. This is great. And I've had other times where I'm like, oh shit, I'm like 6 pounds up right now. This sucks. I feel like ass. Right? It can happen either way, but alcohol is another reason why your weight might be fluctuating right now, or you might not be seeing progress, right? And it doesn't even have to be a lot of alcohol either. You could have like a drink or two, and that's gonna impact it, right? You don't have to go on a bender and for it to impact what happens on the scale. So that could be one thing, right? Alcohol causes water retention. Another one, food. You could have had a big meal the day before. You could have had a big meal the night before. Maybe you didn't eat a lot of food in the morning, that like the day before you weighed in, and then that night you ate a majority of your calories. Well, guess what? A lot of those calories are going to be in your body still the next day because the food is in your body, whether in food form or waste form. So that's another reason why that can happen. And when we eat, we also hold on to water. So is an alcohol dehydrated? It can have either effect. It just depends. I've had days where alcohol has had me at a lower body weight, but I've had other times where due to inflammation and increased water retention, I've been much more bloated than before. So it just depends. It just depends on the person, and it depends on the person, and also it depends on the situation. Like each time for me, it feels like it's kind of a different scenario, and other people may have similar history of that as well. So that's another one. And so waste, right? Waste. When's the last time you went to the bathroom, right? When's the last time that you took a piss or did number two, right? When's the last time you took a shit? Just to put it bluntly, right? Maybe you're constipated right now, and maybe that's why the weight is like super high, right? Compared to what it usually is. Maybe it's not, but that's another thing to take into consideration. When's the last time you had a bowel movement? That impacts the scale. I know some people, and it's nice because this is all leading into each other here. But are you on your menstrual cycle? If you're a woman, right? That's a big factor that impacts your weight fluctuation at least once a month, typically, right? And it can impact it a lot. It can impact it a lot, and it can impact it the days leading up to your weigh-in, or leading up to the days leading up to your actual menstrual cycle, like the day or two before it actually starts, impacts your weight due to hormone fluctuations, water retention, inflammation. Also, constipation occurs during that period of time for a lot of women, right? Your menstrual cycle throws it, and that's one of the things that I've learned, especially working with a lot of women as my clients, is that that happens a lot, and it impacts it a lot sometimes, depending on what your current weight is. Like, I've seen some of my clients, their weight will fluctuate like 5, sometimes even like 8 pounds in a week. It just because of the sheer amount of water retention and inflammation and constipation, all of these things coming at once, impacting that. It happens. And guess what? Then like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they're back down to their low weigh-in or even lower than what they were, because they stayed the course and they stayed the plan. They didn't get in their head about the number on the scale being different, for those weeks. And so if you have a menstrual cycle right now, expect your weight to fluctuate not in the direction that you want it to go in. Okay, just expect that, and knowing that it's going to happen in that way, and be like that, in the future. That's going to help you, get a work through that mental kind of like the mental gymnastics of it, right? So that's another thing that can happen. Another thing that can impact your weight fluctuation. Another thing that can impact your like your weight fluctuation or why the scale didn't move. And I kind of already said this, but inflammation, right? If you're sick, if you just got done being sick, guess what? Your body's all inflamed. It's probably holding on to a lot of water. You probably don't feel that great. You probably didn't move a whole lot either. That's another thing that could be going on. So you might not have gotten your steps in because you're sedentary, because you don't feel good. Same thing with menstrual cycle. You don't feel good. You feel like shit, so you're laying around a lot more, right? Maybe eating more. Maybe, and this is, in this scenario, I'm saying everything's perfect, but also something that gets impacted whenever you're on your menstrual cycle is that you crave more carb-rich foods. A lot of women do. And you're not moving a lot. You feel like crap. Like, those things impact that. And maybe that's why, your weight didn't move. But in the scenario, you still got your steps in. You're a trooper. You still powered through, even though you felt like crap. Okay, so that's another thing that could happen. Or in this scenario, right? Let's say none of those things happen, right? Let's see. I see that's me, and all my measurements are okay. Yep. And so yeah, exactly. Your measurements are going to be up because you're holding on to a shit ton of water or shit or whatever it may be, and it's causing you to be bloated, and that's okay. It's not the reality of the situation. You're still putting in that work. You're still, it's almost like an illusion in a sense. And if you can power through that illusion of what's fact versus just this temporary bloating, right? You're going to continue to see progress, but you got to work through that. Okay. So this last thing though, right? Let's say none of those things are applying to your situation right now. And you're still either you didn't lose weight this week or, maybe you're even up a little bit, right? What needs to happen if none of those things are happening? What could be going on? Probably just need to update your plan, right? You probably just need to update your plan because your body is probably adapted to where you're at right now, right? And typically, kind of like a general rule of thumb is if like nothing's changed after you've stayed the course for a couple of weeks, right? Like let's just say like 2 weeks, general rule of thumb, and you haven't seen any progress, right? And you're doing everything right, and none of those other factors are impacting or influencing your weight, right? And nothing's changed. Your plan probably just needs updated. Your body has adapted. Your metabolism has done this thing called metabolic adaptation, right? Your metabolism is not broken, right? It doesn't need to be fixed. It's just a little bit slower than it used to be. Why? Because it's adapted to your current caloric intake and your current level of activity, right? And so what needs to happen at some point in everybody's fitness journey or weight loss journey is you need to reduce your calories again or increase your, cardio so that way you're, facilitating or supplementing a caloric deficit through that as well. So it just depends on which tool that you want to use to make it happen. Typically, it's just easier to eat less in general for everybody. But once you reach a certain point where it's low, then that doesn't become that much fun, and then maybe you will supplement in some cardio for that caloric deficit. But that could be why, right? That could be why. Your body is just adapted to where your plan is at right now, and you just need to switch it up a little bit by reducing your calories or increasing cardio or your steps or whatever it may be for that day, for that week going forward. That could be what's going on, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you for that. Like it's just time to adapt your plan to where you're at now, because as you lose weight, right, your metabolism will also as you lose weight, your body requires less food, right? Also, as you're going through a weight loss phase, your metabolism will slow down in a sense because it's adapting to that lower caloric intake. And then eventually, once you reach a certain point, then you might want to implement like a reverse diet or something like that. But that's more than likely not necessary unless you've been like chronically dieting for a very, very long time. So that is what it comes down to. That is why you probably haven't lost weight this week, right? It's one of those factors, right? None of them are bad necessarily or inherently bad. It makes you feel bad, right? It sucks that it happens, but it's okay. And at the end of the day, like just stay the course, trust the process. If one of those things are happening right now, one of those factors that I mentioned earlier that are happening right now, stay the course, trust the process. Don't get in your head, right? Be nice to yourself. Know that if you keep doing what you're doing and it's a good plan in the first place, that you're going to reach your goals and you're going to come out on the other side. Probably, and oftentimes it happens every freaking time. If you stay the course, even though your weight wasn't down, for that check-in day or whatever it may have been, right? the next week or the week after when you weigh yourself, you're probably going to have lost more weight than you ever have in a single week or two. And that's because you actually had lost that weight in the first place. You just didn't know that you did, and it didn't look like you did because your weight had been fluctuated up in an upward direction because of water or inflammation or any food or waste or any of these other things that I just talked about. Okay? So just stay the course, trust the process. And if it's been a couple of weeks that you have not seen results and you're doing everything right, right? And let's be viciously honest with ourselves if we're doing things how we're supposed to be doing, right? Not this like I deserve something that I haven't worked for, right? Let's keep that in mind that we're hitting our steps, we're following our food, we're doing our workouts, we're tracking our nutrition, right? Let's assume that all that's perfect, and then boom, then it's probably time to adapt your plan, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But just be fucking nice to yourself, right? Can we just take a moment to say like be nice to yourself, and not beat yourself up because you're working towards something, you're doing a good job, right? And you're that are levels of like of troubleshooting or like try I don't like to say trial and error necessarily, but troubleshooting what could be causing the issues. And over time, you gather more information. And when you gather that information, you know more about what could be going on. And then you apply it. And, it works or it doesn't. Right? So, yeah. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. Let's see. I'm spayed, so hard to know when my cycle is. Such a good reminder for us. Thank you. My weight has barely changed 5-6 weeks, but my body has changed. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. If you are just starting out too, for all the newbies out there, or even if you're not a newbie and you're just getting into strength training, again, your body is going to be going through a lot more of a like recomp phase at the beginning, where you like I've talked about this in the past, stalemate effect, where you're going to have a downward trend in weight due to fat loss that is occurring and weight loss that is occurring, but you're also going to have somewhat of a upward trend in your weight because you're also building muscle, right? Your body's adapting quickly to the stimuli of strength training. And so oftentimes, just to be honest, if you're strength training and your goal is fat loss, right, and you want to focus on that, right, you don't want to go for straight up weight loss because you don't want to lose all that muscle, right, you want to do this the right way, and the sustainable way, for the first month, maybe even 2 months, progress will be slower than expected, probably than what you would expect in the scale, right, because this change is occurring. But you're playing the long game. You're playing the long game. You're building muscle, which is going to help you and your metabolism in the long run. And you're going to feel a lot better too in the long run. You're going to look a lot better if that is the aesthetic that you're going for, a lot more, right? And it's better than sacrificing a lot of muscle for short-term like satisfaction whenever you're trying to play the long game. Because what's the point in losing all that weight if you're going to gain it all back because you screwed yourself over because you lost a lot of muscle and you did it unsustainably, right? So just got to keep that in your mind whenever you're doing this. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let's see. From beginning of October, measurements down. Yep. You absolutely are. Yeah, you are doing great. So, yeah, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope this was valuable. Feel free to give this video a like. Helps other people see it. Feel free to share this with other people who may be, struggling with their own fitness journeys right now, or they're beating themselves up because, it's the new year and people are, figuring this stuff out on their own, a lot of them, and may not know what's going on, and they're probably beating themselves up for it when they don't need to be. So that's all I got for you today. Feel free to give this video a like. I hope that you enjoyed this. And yeah, other than that, I will talk to you all tomorrow. See you guys.